Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted here because I'm just looking at this chart. This is just like a freaking man. Look at this. So the 10-year treasury is already at 4.3. So we're up 30 basis points now on the week. We could have just been short this whole time. Was that somebody earlier was saying, hey, why aren't we all just, short treasuries? I'm like, I ask myself that every day. But this is, and the thing was, is I was reading, all of my overnight reading and stuff, and they were already saying that they had extended the lows. And now here in the last hour, 2 hours or so, there's just been the treasuries have just been absolutely slammed. So let's come and look at the charts here a little bit. This is, I think this is, we're going to need a little help from heaven today, man. This is like a crazy market. So here we have the treasuries. So yesterday, this is the same thing. It's like after we left, because we got this thing right here, right? And then after we left, it was just like nothing but sell the rest of the day. And now here overnight, down even more, like big time. There's got to be news or something. We're going to have to dig around here a little bit. S&P 500 not looking so hot, and we got the big options expiration today that might pin us. Well, maybe it's 3650 and not 3700, but we're going to get pinned to one of those prices probably. Unless it just like triggers like this absolute crazy sell. But what I'm actually worried about is Monday. Monday after the options expiration is often ugly too. Natural gas continues to fall. Gold and silver getting slammed. Kappa. So the dollar is going here big time then, huh? Oh yeah. Look at that. Dollar above 113. Wow. And Bitcoin getting slaughtered. Like, really? Bitcoin should be way lower than it is, in my opinion. Just like considering how strong the dollar has been, Bitcoin should be way lower than it is. Okay, so I don't think we have, well, let's come over here. Okay, we do have Canadian retail sales here at the bottom of the hour. And then we've got Feds Williams and Feds Evans speaking later in the day. Okay. So I'm just kind of looking through here. Mohammed A. El Arian. Markets are again in the world where higher bond yields and a stronger dollar undermine stock. Behind this, worries about inflation, central bank policies, debt leverage, and struggling global growth dynamics, both on a standalone basis and in terms of their interactions. Man, I really feel like there must be some news, but can you believe we were at 110 yesterday? So they moved a whole point and then some. Well, it might lead us. So the issue I've got. Oh, by the way, we should turn on some music here. Turn on some music. Goodbye. Goodbye. You know, I was thinking I wanted to make my video today, and there we go. There was, because I got the day off, so that would give me time to like record and edit a video. And I was writing something about, the CPI and everything else like that. And I really don't feel like doing it. I feel like that as soon as I put it out, it's going to be irrelevant. Like, something else is going on here, right? Maybe we should just make a video about my favorite jigsaw settings instead. No, Zero Hedge. What just happened in the UK? A globalist coup. Okay. Man, this is just crazy. No way to make money in this? Sure there is, Leando. Just be short and hold it all week. Like really, we were below 4% on Monday. That's just, you put in a micro contract. That's $300 right there per contract. Easy money. Even the short squeeze. That's true. Like this move from the bottom to here, I guess it's not that big, but pretty dramatic. Just as dramatic as the pushback. And you're right, when they were selling, it was pretty dramatic. There really must be some real stress out there still in the market. Like maybe UK pension funds are still under pressure. Maybe it's spreading. It's coming and seeing the charts this morning is a little disconcerting, isn't it? Well, one consolation is that oil is not above $100. So there's that. They moved back down again today. One of the things I'm seeing, maybe this is all just being driven by the yen, because the yen is well past 150 now. Well past 150, and I see absolutely zero evidence of intervention. They just let it go through it. Okay, so there's the Canadian numbers. It kind of seems like that the prevailing analysis of the order flows and dynamics around this options expiration suggests that everybody's going short into this expiration, and that after the expiration that there could be a bear market rally. Our model suggests meaningful CTA demand is starting to build. Threshold pivots are 150, 200 handles higher, but even in a flat tape, this cohort needs to get meaningfully less short. Calls become the new portfolio protection. That would be funny. That's a funny take. Wait, what? Okay, so another story that's been going on today. So like yesterday's Snap earnings were bad, which I've always been kind of like down on Snap, right? But this guy looks familiar. I'm gonna type here. I think we're gonna have a crazy end of week. Okay, so anyways, Snap earnings were really bad, so Twitter down. But you know, the deal is supposed to be going through with Twitter, and overnight there was reports that there was a national security review of the purchase. Well, now the latest headline is that the White House is not aware of the national security review for Musk Ventures. Of course, the White House is not supposed to comment on or even, in fact, know about what the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States does, so this statement is not entirely surprising. It does seem fanciful that the U.S. government would view Twitter as a national security asset, Canaccord Genuity's West analyst Graham Simpson said in an email. So that one's kind of weird. You know what, Leandro? It's don't be discouraged by this kind of action, because yeah, we do get into these periods. It's not that you can't make money off of it. It's that the volatility becomes so high that it kind of becomes not worth taking a risk sometimes, right? Well, sometimes in a market like this, it will give you a really, really clear trade. And those are some of the best trades you'll ever take, is the first thing. But you gotta be really selective about it, right? You gotta be really, really hyper careful. But then the other side of it is that after these things blow over, you get some of the best opportunities. So eventually this market is gonna flip over and let us take the other side. But for now, it's pretty... Yeah, Jim Iorio, good morning all. A gentle reminder that there is no incentive for your politicians to solve any of the ongoing hot button issues. The reason they exist is to use them to rile people up every 2 years. I've just been noticing there... have you guys noticed the narrative shift over the last 2 weeks? And I think that this is happening largely because of what's going on in the UK. But it's not just the UK, it's the combination. So what do I mean by the combination? In the United States, we got Democrats pretty much took over last election. And then the first thing that they did was pass a stimulus bill. And then they passed this other Inflation Reduction Act thing too, after fighting over it for a really, really, really long time. And it seems, based on the data that we have, that at least some of the inflation that we've had is due to that act that the Biden administration put in early in the term. So when you come down to it, there was a problem. The Democrats basically blew it, and I think that the American public, or at least that's what the American public thinks, because that's kind of where the polling is going and where the midterm elections are going. You know, there's this one Democrat, and they're I forget her name, but she's just hammering on, oh, companies like all raised their prices, like the input costs didn't change, but the companies all rose their prices. Well, first of all, they kind of rose their prices in anticipation of those increased input costs coming up down the line. But the other side of it is that not all inflation is demand push. Some of it is, or sorry, not all inflation is cost push. Sometimes it's demand pull. So the prices rose because people really wanted to buy stuff and there wasn't enough of it. So companies raised their prices. That's what you do. And that's what's going to happen when you put too much money into the system. It's just like this politician seems to have such a bizarre, out of line conception of economics. Okay, so the Democrats screwed it up. So of course, the obvious response would be, well, okay, we got some Republicans in there, and then maybe we can have a good economy again, and blah, 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 yeah, right? Okay, but then you go over and you look at the UK, where the Conservative Party has been in charge for quite some time. They come in, they make this budget that is basically just tax cuts, and the market just absolutely demolishes them for it. And you get all of these people in positions that apparently don't know what they're doing. Kwarteng's budget was a complete disaster. So can the Republicans actually fix it? If the Republicans got in charge in the United States, would things get better? I don't know. Maybe not. Kind of seems to me that the politicians aren't capable of solving these problems. So how do you fix it? You see what I mean? It's like all of a sudden, everybody on both sides of the pond are realizing a severe deficiency with our Western system of government. Doesn't mean that we should get rid of democracy. That would be silly. But we've got to find a way to ensure that our politicians actually understand economics, because some of the most consequential decisions that they make are economic ones, and they don't seem to have a clue what they're talking about. Okay, so Zach House, what do you think of NinjaTrader as a brokerage? So there are some nice things about NinjaTrader as a brokerage, like you can do ACH transfers. That's pretty nice. Their interface is pretty good. I don't like that you have to use continuum data. I don't think it's as good. I don't know if it's how it compares to the CQG data, but it's definitely not as good as what I got with Rhythmic, in my opinion. Because with Rhythmic, you get more level 2 levels, and you get their app that lets me plug it into multiple applications. So, and then that's the other side of it, is that like NinjaTrader has basically locked you into using their brokerage. You want to use their software now, you have to use their brokerage, whereas before it was kind of opened up, right? So I also did have an issue. I forget what the deal was. Was it like that, like the futures rolled over and then it didn't work or something, and it took them like 2 days to fix it for me or something? Anyways, they weren't super responsive either. So I would look at NinjaTrader as a discount broker similar to AMP, where you get what you pay for, but you know, hopefully you just never have any problems, because then you can pay the lowest fees, right? And that's the way that I think of it. But I don't use them at the moment. I'm with EdgeClear, and I've been quite happy with them. Although EdgeClear didn't quite have, I don't think they'd ever onboarded somebody that just wanted to trade micro treasury yield futures. But edgeclear.com. But when you go to EdgeClear, like, you know, you'll get a guy there, you're going to know your guy. Like, they're really good at those sorts of things. And so if I ever had a problem here, and I haven't had a problem yet, but if I had a problem with EdgeClear, I feel much more confident in their ability to resolve the issue quickly. So that's what I like about EdgeClear. And that's probably true of all of those brokers. So like EdgeClear, Optimus Futures probably fits in that category as well. I think that Iron Beam is trying to become more of like a discount player, but I think that they're still kind of in that space where you get pretty good service from them and stuff. So I think that Iron Beam is really good if you're new, because their web application is pretty cool. I didn't like when I made that video about that, and because they sponsored like a getting started for futures trading video basically. I didn't just make that video just because they wanted to do a sponsored video. Like they wanted to do a sponsored video, and I tried the thing, and then I said, oh well, I want to use it for this because I really liked it. Like I was like, it's so hard to get into futures trading, right? And this is the thing that we need to make it easy for somebody that's just starting out. So I really like Iron Beam for that. But for most of you guys, most of you that have been here, you're here every morning and everything, probably already have a broker. But if you ever find yourself wanting to switch, I would recommend taking a look at EdgeClear, because I think that they're a pretty good candidate for somebody that wants better service. Okay, so it looks like we had another little quick slide to the upside, although the volume is very clearly fighting it. It seems to me like that there is just somebody, a country or who knows what, that is just selling treasuries. And so we're getting these gasps of air up. We get these situations where all the speculators go short, and then you get trap traders and they puke on the way back up. But somebody's got to be selling this, man. So tell you what, I want to read my script to you guys. You guys tell me what you think of it, okay? Tell me what you think of this script here. Okay, inflation has been the big issue this year, and with my specialty being interest rates, I've naturally been all over this issue during our regular morning trading live streams. What can I say? We've had some fun trading this year. Although beating the dead horse and selling treasuries every day is getting a little bit old. Which begs the question, how much longer can this inflation last? October's Consumer Price Index report once again surprised markets with higher than expected inflation. So what's going on here? Will the Federal Reserve ever get inflation under control? So let's do the deep dive and find out if the data gives us any hints as to what's next. One of the most widely watched measures of inflation is the Consumer Price Index, released monthly by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In addition to the headline CPI number, they also have a core CPI number. This number reflects inflation, with food and energy taken out, as they tend to be more volatile components. The Federal Reserve pays particular attention to this core number, as it tends to be more indicative of where inflation is going in the long run. Within the CPI report, they also split things up by categories. One of the most heavily weighted categories of core inflation is the shelter component, and it's been on fire lately, with October's reading coming in at 0.7% month over month. But there's a big problem with this component of CPI. It's kind of slow. So shelter inflation is calculated primarily from a metric called owner equivalent rents. They look at rents because people's mortgages don't change from month to month, so it wouldn't make sense to use new home prices for this metric. So they actually go to these rental units and survey how much the residents are paying in rent and utilities. The problem is that rents don't change very quickly either. It's only going to change when the lease gets renewed or there is a new tenant. The lag is very apparent when you compare owner equivalent rents to metrics from private companies that tend to be faster, like Zillow's Observed Rent Index, or SORI, which looks at asking rents. Okay, so I actually made a graph here for this even. I even made a graph for this yesterday. Where is it? Be gone. So here is our graph. You can see very clearly. Black line is our Zori, and the blue line is CPI, and you can see that this series looks very clearly like a delayed version of this series, although it's quite delayed. Look at that, it's delayed by almost like a whole year. This peaked a year ago. This is still going up. Okay. Now I understand that all that made your eyes glaze over, but here's the part to pay attention to, because if you look at a chart of Zori, it suggests that the pace of rent increases has already peaked, suggesting that we should see a similar peak in owner equivalents and therefore more tame CPI numbers going forward. So, is that it? CPI is peaking and a Fed pivot can't be far behind? But I can already hear you asking, haven't we fallen for this peak inflation trick before? So there's a couple of things about all of this that I think we should know. We're talking about different measures that each have their own nuances, so it's not quite as simple as just one being a lagged version of the other. I think that landlords might have gone a little ham on those rent increases, and few were actually buying at those prices. So those two measures will probably meet in the middle as Zillow comes off its overextended prices and owner equivalent rents increasingly catches up. And here's the thing. Fed isn't stupid. I mean, yes, they made mistakes at almost every turn, but a large part of that is that the Fed has to weigh different risks. For instance, they put off raising rates because of the risk of further waves of coronavirus, a risk that we now realize in retrospect was probably overestimated. That's why Federal Reserve decisions are discretionary. They can use any data that they want to make their decisions, and they are well aware of measures like the Zillow Index. You watch. I bet you the journalists ask Powell about this at the next press conference in November, and he'll say something like, we look at many different economic indicators, including alternative measures of inflation, and the Federal Reserve decisions have to weigh the various risks. The Zillow Index may suggest that the pace of inflation has already peaked, but it is still pretty high. There's also the jobs market, which is cooling but still looks pretty resilient with unemployment below the natural rate of unemployment. The Fed is going to need to see those measures come in line with targeted inflation for multiple reports before they feel comfortable relaxing on interest rates. Meaning that despite all this information, the Federal Reserve is likely to stick to their guns. They really have no choice, because saying anything even remotely dovish could shift markets and ease financial conditions. That would leave us in the exact same situation we were in back in August that forced the Federal Reserve to jawbone markets lower. They basically can't say anything suggesting a pivot until the exact moment they pivot. That is, unless something breaks before then, like maybe Japan pulls an Amber Heard or the UK sees a few more prime ministers. Inflation is difficult to fight, so the Fed is correct that the risks are tilted towards higher than anticipated inflation. But the probabilities are that in trying to tackle inflation, we cause a recession. But we'll see. Is a recession inevitable? And how would you change how CPI is calculated? Let me know in the comments. I'd also love to know what you thought of this format. I'd love to do more videos going over current research. So if you want to see more of this, make sure to give this video a like. I will see you during the morning live streams every morning at 8:30 Eastern time for a regular trading session. In the meantime, stay excellent, team. I'm just realizing I would want to add a few things, because the Bureau of Labor Statistics is already talking about changing the CPI calculation. But that was the video that I was planning on recording today. And I just kind of look at this market and I kind of feel like it's not relevant anymore. It's like, you should already know this one. This was like 2 weeks ago's news. And we've got like a Federal Reserve meeting in 2 weeks. And then we got a CPI number. Let's see here. It's like November 2nd is the Fed meeting, right? Yeah. So in 2 weeks, we got a Fed meeting. And then we got the the jobs report, and then after that we got CPI. So like, and then it's probably all changes again. So I'm kind of thinking, why don't I just shelve that, save it, and then after the next CPI report, we can work from that one and go forward. What do you think? Or do you think I should just record it today? Did you like that? What did you guys think of it? I don't know, they're not saying anything. That must mean they didn't like it. Must not have been that engaging, guys. Must not have been that engaging. No, you're watching. You guys are watching. It is good information. I don't know how, like, one of the problems I have, it is informative, good. One of the problems that I have is that I'm not really very good at or aware of what other people do and don't know. I don't think that I pay enough attention to other people. You know, that's kind of my big issue is attention, right? I don't pay enough attention to other people to realize what they do and don't know. So it's really hard to do, you know? So I don't know if it's like people would be really interested in that or how many of them would know. Because when I do that, I just think, oh, people are going to be like, oh, well, all the CPI numbers is all fake anyways because they changed it back in the 80s and real inflation is much higher. Like, that's what I think people are going to say, right? And I kind of like, I don't know, I really want to record this, you know? Now, the split side of this one is I could put this video out today. I could put it, you know, even if I don't think it's going to be a great one, I can be like, well, this is just a throwaway one. And then we make another video on the same subject 3 weeks from now, right? Follow-up video? I think that's probably what I should do. But the other video I can make is, here are the jigsaw settings that I use. That's the other video that I could make today. Let's make it a poll. You guys want to do a poll? What video should Seth make next? Jigsaw settings or CPI deep dive. Ask your community. Do both. Well, we will do the jigsaw settings video eventually. It's just like we'll do that video next week or something. No. What's this? Okay, so Nick is tweeting a storm here. The Fed is barreling towards a fourth straight 75 basis point rate hike. Straight 75 basis point rate rise at the November FOMC meeting. It's called a rate hike, Nick. The meeting could serve as a critical staging ground for future plans, including whether and how to step down to 50 basis points in December. Some officials are more eager to calibrate their rate setting to reduce the risk of over-tightening, but they won't want to dramatically loosen financial conditions if and when they hike by 50 basis points instead of 75. This meeting could allow officials to get aligned on next steps. The equity market has been so eager to see pivots by the Fed, said Bostic Kathy. I don't know who that is. I'm going to add them. Those pivots include a slowdown in the hiking pace, a pause, and eventually cuts. The equity market keeps jumping ahead to the last pivot, and we're a long way from the Fed cutting rates. A half-point hike at this meeting would result in dramatic loosening of financial conditions no matter what language they paired it with, says Jason Furman. But by December, you can keep financial conditions very restrictive even with 50 basis points. I have already now what the CPI one is about now. I think it's cool because most people don't pay attention to CPI measures or all the Fed indicators. Maybe they think they don't have much impact on markets, but in the midterm, long term, it decides where markets will go. It's true. I think another part of my problem here on this one, I don't know, maybe I'm just being like too. I feel like that I need to just trust, just do my thing that I know to do, and trust and hope that you guys and God will make up the rest. I write that and I think, oh, it's got to be funny, it's got to be engaging and keep people watching it, but I can't think of any other good jokes to stick in there. And it is an informative thing. It's a short video, but you know, I feel like if I don't make it, that's just like a video that goes away. So now I'm kind of leaning towards I do have to do it. You know what the other factor, you know what I think is another factor here? Just to use things. I appreciate it, Morgan. You know what? You guys, you're here every day and you're always supportive, regardless of what I say or when I make mistakes, when things are hard or when they're good. You guys are the best audience that any creator could ever have. And I'm sure that if we ever do have some success, that I'm going to be sitting there being like, man, I miss the old days when it was just a small group of us and everybody was really supportive. Would be nice to see a cause and effect video. So Trading Bunny, do you mean like a video that tries to assess why we got the inflation that we did and why it kind of has gone the way it has? To outline the connection to these measures to price delivery. There has been a couple of studies now at this point, although I think there's probably still a lot more to go. Man, this is a strong up move that we're getting now. Here again. Okay, so I think that the market is reacting to Nick's story here. So I read all of those. The market must be reacting to this. So like here again is like the perfect example. So I'm not dissing Nick Timmeros. Nick Timmeros is a god in my opinion. Like I just can't even. Oh man, the dollar is like getting creamed here. What the heck? Anyways, I'm so jealous of Nick Timmeros. He is the Fed whisperer. Okay, but everything that I read in those tweets were kind of what I was expecting anyways, right? 75 basis points this time, 50 basis points next time. And how does the Federal Reserve back off on the interest rates without it making financial conditions considerably more easy? And that's exactly what Tim said. But the market does appear to be reacting to it and seeing it as dovish. So I guess you could say that's an overreaction. But hey, you know what? The sell was kind of an overreaction too, so. And we've got some Fed speakers coming up here, right? We got Harker speaking, so let's come over here and see where you're supposed to be speaking and stuff. So at first I was kind of thinking maybe I don't take any trades. Now that it's come back here, maybe we can do something. So at 7:10, we got FOMC member Williams will be speaking. Remember, he is the head of the New York Federal Reserve, and that's the one that kind of does all of their market operations. Okay, due to deliver opening remarks at an event hosted by Columbia Green Community College in New York. So I'm not sure how significant that one will be. I'm kind of thinking that it might be a less significant speech. And what is the one that we've got after that? Evans? I don't have that on this other calendar. Maybe that one is a media engagement. The dollar just totally. Oh, is the well? I am seeing the 6J jump big time here too. Maybe it's the Japanese. Could be. This is gonna go. They're almost certainly gonna break. The 30 years still has a long ways to go here. Wow, what the hell? What the fudge? Darn. No, so again, earlier I was reading tweets by Nick Tamaros. That's the only significant news I see. Shit. Look at that. I should not have done that. That's okay. Whatever this is, it is an awfully strong blow. Oh, jeez. Well, I just took a big loser on that one, man. I should have puked it faster. That was... Okay, now I'm gonna try it here again. So I didn't want to do it that way, but that was kind of like my limit, so... Yesterday it also started promising and then the reversal came quickly. Well, this flow is almost certainly news driven in part. It may be more extreme because the selling in the morning was so heavy, right? But there are a couple of reasons for me to doubt that it's just Nick's story, but I do believe that it is Nick's story and that the market is reacting strongly to Nick's story. That the market is reading it as the Federal Reserve wants to start pivoting in December. So we were kind of more expecting the Federal Reserve maybe December, maybe in early spring, and now they're saying no, they're going to shift in December. So that would put us to 4.5, which means that we were earlier in the week correctly positioned, or whatever you could say, right? That means that you know, we could see like the 2-year come at least back to 2.5, right? And we're at 2.54. So that's kind of what I think is going on. Okay. Darn. Okay, I took it. For moves like this, I'm afraid to short the market with futures. Yeah, I'm afraid to do anything in this kind of action. It's a little scary action, to be honest with you. My heart is beating pretty hard right now. I'm a little nervous. Okay, so we're coming up on Williams here. Remember that this is like a career event, so. Well, here they come in, it looks like. Okay, so I am just hearing from the news squawk that he does not comment on monetary policy in his opening remarks. So that means that we're free here. I don't have to worry about a Fed speaker coming in and saying something hyper hawkish or anything. They coming up there to those highs. They're not quite there yet. I'm kind of hoping that they push that and that there's another puke of volume, but let's see. So I could totally see off of after the strength of this move, I could totally see 110. Oh man, the equities doing this at this time is gonna like really throw a wrench into the trading today. Oh, I don't know. This is all kind of crazy. Do you know any better source for news than Market Watch or Zero Hedge? Those are by far that's the best I've found is Zero Hedge. I haven't really ever looked at Market Watch. So take a look at that. The 30-year has so much further to go here if they reach the highs. Like the 30-year got sold really hard on all this stuff. So yeah. Like it seems like those highs are like really well established. We are getting like crazy volatility and everything, but those could be I am using Rhythmic. The way that I use Rhythmic in NinjaTrader 8 is by using the demo version of NinjaTrader. I don't like that. Recenter. VWAP is at 05. I don't know if this is a situation where they'll react to the VWAP or not, but like the other crazy thing about all of this is that it was not it was not actually that much volume to do all this. So okay. So a little bit of a slip below there. Shoot. Dollar's coming back pretty strong. Okay. Man, the micro, look at the micros, like when it goes, it's like slips everywhere and stuff. Yeah. Republicans on Twitter openly talking about controlling the Senate now too. That's kind of a crazy thing to think about. Okay. Well, that link that Jigsaw just tweeted out doesn't work for me. $27 watching on a Friday. That's nice, but where's the likes? Leave a like, you bastards. It is that actually is a lot, especially for Friday. But I mean, the market is doing pretty wild stuff, so maybe some newer viewers are like, whoa, this actually is interesting for once. So this is pretty wild for markets here. Okay, by the way, I want to note there, the 30-year reached new lows there before bouncing, while although the 5 and the 10 are continuing to be there. So like you kind of got a weird situation because the way that this spreads and the supposed driver of this news does all suggest steepening, I believe, but the 30-year has been sold so hard already. I do suspect that if they were to get above like 119.05 or so, that the 30-year could puke really hard. So let's just kind of see. The reality is that all of this that we're seeing right now is pretty technical trading, is just like backwash going back and forth, and I'm not sure if we're gonna have like another large rush of orders, because we had about 10,000 net contracts to the long side, which is not all that big. Like yesterday they sold like 30 to 50k, right? So in other words, if this thing really has legs, it's just getting started. And the way that it's moving, there's a pretty good chance that it does have legs. Now, faltering a little bit there at the top of that 08 range, where we've traded the majority of our volume so far. Not the majority, but I mean, that's like the highest volume area. Here's 05 again. It does kind of feel like that maybe VWAP is lending some support to us, huh? Because they dipped below 05. It was very brief. Then it came back up. Jeez. And look, there's the 30-year getting slammed again. I haven't found an exact reason for any news. Could be Bank of Japan. There was an RU comment, some Fed rumor, tweets, etc. Yeah. Well, so the Japanese yen did spike really hard there on that, but it was not really like what I've seen from other moves that we suspected were Bank of Japan intervention, right? But there was the Nick Timmeros, the Wall Street Journal story, and the move really seemed to be the most concentrated here in the treasuries. So my best theory is that they are trading on the Nick Timmeros story and interpreting it as that the Fed does want to begin pivoting in December. That's my reading of it at the moment. If that's really the interpretation that the market's going with, or the final conclusion, there could potentially be some more upside. I think that you could see the 2-year at below 4.5. You know. Yep, steepening. Okay. So once again, a little dip below the VWAP, and they're able to buy back. Gold at a 2.5-year low. Well, gold had a pretty good spike here off of the news and everything, but yeah, gold has been pretty tough trade past year, hasn't it? Yeah, see, they're definitely buying below the VWAP there. Whether this holds though remains to be seen. It does. This kind of feels like I don't know. I'm not sure what to think of all this. The cumulative delta in the 10-year still, I think, suggests longs. But they're not making too much progress on the long side yet. It's still quite volatile. The 30-year is at its lows. It's just kind of tough for us. I do think there could be more upside on this still. They would need to, you know, make a few more significant moves, you know, like get above 08. 08 was kind of this volume profile here that kind of stopped them. So I'd like to see them come to the other side of this profile and break out at 08 and take a look at those highs. Is what I'd like to see. But so far, seems kind of, if it's going to happen, they're taking their time. Put it that way. S&P 500 starts in 5 minutes. Well, no, I definitely look at cumulative delta. I don't use cumulative delta as an entry or anything, but cumulative delta is your best indicator of what informed traders are doing, tend to like to use market orders. So I don't take a trade based on that, right? I take a trade based on, okay, I think I know why this flow is coming through and I have reason to believe that there will be more flow behind it, right? But then cumulative delta gives me a really good idea of if my predictions are actually correct, right? So right now, the cumulative delta is kind of suggesting that it could still happen, but it's not super supportive of it. It's not super supportive of it. I do kind of wonder here, though, if the 30-year was kind of overdone because of spreading. So I'm watching the 30-year in particular to see if that spread flattens back out a little bit and we get maybe a more extended move on the 30-year to the upside. On what time frame? Well, your cumulative delta shouldn't really look too different depending on the time frame, but I have a 1-minute chart up. Here's my charts over here. These ones down, these three down at the bottom, right? Got the spread, the cumulative delta, and then box charts on here. This one also has my position estimates. Okay, so above 08, where they kind of got stopped before, that looks okay. $30-year is accelerating, is coming up there pretty fast. Although I don't know, like, so thinking about chart patterns, either way that this ends up going in the end, that ain't any chart pattern I've ever seen. This is pretty disorganized movement here in the treasuries since that initial move higher. Okay. So it's pausing a little bit here. The 10-year not quite able to get itself a very good bid at 09. Yeah, I am getting some hints of flattening here though. Like I'm starting to get a lot more buying in the 30-year, and the 5 years you see the change in the spread. Zoop. Here's the S&P 500. And they're able to trade across this range from 06 to 08 quite freely still. No, I heard it. The bell came through. I don't know which channel it comes through, so it might be that you guys can't hear it. Today is hard, man. So hard to predict the move. Well, the big so like let's just put down the big question now at this point is, will they breach the highs again? Hard call. I'm kind of betting on it breaching the highs again. I don't know if that's a good trade or not. There's a little push below the VWAP again. So I'm just looking at this 6J because, you know, one of the theories was maybe the Bank of Japan was getting involved here now. I don't think that's the case. I'm really, all signs point to the Wall Street Journal story. I think that I very, very much underestimated that story when I was reading, because when I read it, I was like, okay, this is, you know, we got to pay attention to Nick. This is, but I didn't expect like a monster move off of it or anything, you know? Yeah, here. Well, let me give you the tweet, okay? Here is the tweet. Okay, so a quick look at the bottom of the range and right back to the top of the range. 30 years seems to be driving here. Look at some of those bids in the 5-year. Still pretty testy volume. Like there are some spots where bids are like absorbing and stuff, but it's just market orders are coming through so fast it'll go through it and then it'll flip back the other way. So like there's just a lot of market volume coming through both ways here. Okay, so on the UK side, I don't know if this is really too relevant to the markets, but everybody does seem to care about it. Opinion research poll shows that a Rishi Sunak versus Boris Johnson runoff, the public would back Sunak. So that's curious. I'm still seeing buying in the 30-year. They seem to be all running pretty close in line with each other. Maybe the dollar being a big driver here, I guess. Another thing is if the market really thinks, if I'm reading this right, of this story, that the market is saying, this is a pivot, basically. That would really help turn things around in the Japanese yen, right? And there's still been a lot of damage to the Japanese yen overnight. So that's the other one, is if the Japanese yen is going to move on this story, there could be a lot of potential upside in the Japanese yen, which would probably help us in the treasuries. But they're still kind of like, you know, notice they just keep kind of bouncing along that VWAP. Jeez, look at that. When the impulse comes shifting directions, it's just like really, really aggressive. Well, I can't say I know for sure which way this turns out, but I feel really strongly that if we do get another leg to this uptrend in the treasuries, that it could be a really insane uptrend. Like the volume that's involved and the base that they've built and the shifts in the spreads and everything suggest that if the 10-year breaches the highs, that you could get a real monster uptrend. I don't know if an expectation that they breach the highs again is realistic or not, but I can dream, can't I? See that, and that is a slightly higher high. I'm looking at this more recent. The way that they've been trading across this range is a little bit too perfect, technically. From the Wall Street Journal reporter, whom New York Magazine's Jen Weiser aptly described in a recent article as the reporter who knows what Jerome Powell is thinking, or at least that is Nick Timros's reputation on Wall Street, and he's tweeting it. Yeah, I think everybody is kind of picking up on this. Yeah, it's Nick Timros. Okay, that's a big old fatty order there at 29 in the 5-year. Maybe flattening out a little bit again. Yeah. This seemed to let people forget that Tesla was on the brink of financial ruin quite recently, a reminder that Musk's success comes from taking monstrously blind risks. Yep. I agree. Yep. So even my news squawk is a little bit like, is it really just this article that's moving them? But they think that it is. That's what most people are coming to the conclusion of. But it's been now almost 40 minutes since that initial move occurred. So like we're in the position for, you know, another leg of the meta order to come, but we continue to chop. Continue to chop right around where the middle of this, I guess you could say. S&P 500's been trading for 10 minutes now too. And although I would say, well, let's see here. Let me check their deltas over here. I'd say it's maybe slightly tilted to the upside. I'm not actually seeing huge imbalances in volume over in the equity market yet. I see more pressure on the buy side today. There definitely seems in the treasury market to be an imbalance in favor of longs, but ever since the initial impulse, it's been very gentle. Spoos is a very thin book, yeah. I mean, it's been thin, but it's a little bit thinner today than it was yesterday, isn't it? I should also add that it appears to me that the dollar is being a very significant factor in what's going on right now. So, like I think if we do make another impulse move higher, it's probably going to be led by the Japanese yen. In fact, I'd be thinking like, if I was the Japanese central bank, I'd be like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity for us to get things back below 150, right? That's not happening. It's not happening. How does I make videos teaching professional trading? You just get in front of a camera and you start talking. You know, get yourself a couple of stacks of $100 bills, maybe a nice hat. A Lambo. You have a Lambo, that really helps. Do you have a Lambo? If I was that rich, I don't think I would get a Lambo. Like, maybe if Ferrari insisted that I take one of their cars, I might take that. But otherwise, I think I would stick to the most inconspicuous car I could find. Like a Toyota, what's the base model? A Corolla. Like a Toyota Corolla. I think that's what I'm going to get anyways. Toyota Corolla. Toyota Corolla, and just outfit it with a really sweet sound system. Okay. So back to the top of the range again. I gotta tell you, man, this order right here. Why did it do that? That's weird. 29.34 at 105.29 in the 5-year. I would really like to see that order taken out. That would be awfully fun to see. Yeah? Maybe. Manual, if I could, I would love to have a manual transmission car again. I loved it driving a manual. I don't think my wife would appreciate it though. That's really it, right? If it was just men, I think that all cars would still have manual transmissions. I love driving a manual trans. It just feels cool, you know? Makes you feel fast. You can save a lot of gas with manual. Really? Because I bet you that I probably drive more aggressively and cancel out any kind of gas fuel economy benefits that I get from that. But it keeps you in tune with the car. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Come on, do it. Oh, it's so close. Come on. Oh, I just can't handle it. It's such a big order. I just want to see a huge clash. Come on. Please. The market is giving me very serious blue balls here. Come on. Okay, so they traded it. Went off again. Okay. It's not like a super strong bid. Oh, yes. Yes, 27.88 to trade through it. Collision. Well, we're kind of at a good spot. Like, that somebody wants to buy, right? And I think they probably continue here until they've got all they want or they've made another liquidity hole. Let's see. You know what? That was not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I thought that if they traded through that it would be like, badoosh, and it was just kind of like, okay, we'll take it. How does it look now? Well, that was a really big shift in cumulative delta for the 5-year, but the 5-year is still slightly tilted downwards. The deltas in the 30-year still look really tilted to the upside, right? And the 10-year is still gradual, so not out of the woods yet. It was a good progress though. Z is like, oh, there's you, Z. I missed you. He's always there. He just doesn't always talk. That's the thing. That's what you guys got to do, is you just got to be like, hey, Uzi, how's it going? Like, just any random day, so that he starts yapping, because I know that we all love chatting with him. Oh, you change your name again, Stickball? Why do you keep changing? Isn't that like the third time? Why do you keep doing that? There's 2 or 3 of you. You keep changing your name. I don't get it. Okay. Okay. So there's a couple of slightly larger orders there in the 10-year. Oh, they're actually kind of pulling. Okay. Oh, yes. I love it when it ticks up and they like almost immediately start trading the next price. That's always a good sign. It's not always a good sign, but I'm going to read it as a good sign today, okay? Because I want to. Do you see what I've been reduced to? I'm just a cheerleader now. I'm just a cheerleader now. The 30-year is like right on the edge there. So the 30-year, its high from this range is 27. So another 4 ticks up, and maybe the 30-year starts to have some fun too. Although I am seeing a little bit of profit taking up here. Okay, just to warn you. You can't see Uzi's messages on this account. Maybe he blocked you. Didn't you guys have like an art? Weren't you like really annoying way back? Maybe he blocked you. How do you see the profit? Well, so like, come over here. So, oh my gosh, this is so hard to show sometimes. Like, it's kind of, I mean, a lot of this is just me reading the tape, right? But you can see it a little bit. Do you see those little bars down on the cumulative delta a little bit here? So like, it looks like, so I wouldn't, it's not anything to be too concerned about, but it does look like that when we broke out here that some people took maybe a little bit of profits. That's just my guess. That's just my guess. Watching on 2 counts? Oh, thank you so much. What did I do to deserve such a great audience, guys? Oh, I didn't even notice the S&P 500 breaching new highs there. And are we seeing it? Dollar at its lows. Japanese yen slowly pushing up by like else. So a little bit of excursion on the downside in the treasury. So there's definitely, I don't know if it's like enough to be concerned about, but there's definitely more sellers up here than there was down in this area. Do you have a Discord where I can learn and have talking about trading to improve myself? Yeah, so if you look in the video description, we do have a Discord. The Discord is kind of more like, you know, just talk about how we're feeling about the markets and sharing possible drivers of order flow, things like that. I think the place, if you're looking to learn, the best place is to come here on the stream and ask me questions. So, because we still have pretty small audience. I mean, like right now we're probably, yeah, we're about just below 30, and that's above average viewership today, right? So usually we got a few dozen people. So I've got, you know, I will see your messages and I've got plenty of time to talk about those sorts and I love to talk because that's what I'm here for is to help more retail traders be successful at this. So gotta go. Hey, thank you for stopping by, Morgan. Yeah, you have a good weekend. Okay, by the way, we don't have any 8 o'clock news, do we? Eurozone consumer confidence flash. Okay. And then Baker Hughes recount later. Okay, well. So even though the 5 and the 10 are kind of pushing out there, you see the 30 is a little bit reluctant to breach those highs. So they haven't touched 27 yet, is where they need to touch to be a break of the range. Okay. You see the bid speed. Okay, so there they traded it. The bid was a little shy, but they did do it. So that was, and you can see the stops too. Oh, come on, let's go. Let's go. Okay, touched the high. Ah, this looks like a good solid bid. They better break that. Come on. Went bid for a second. There you go. New high. Cool. Matt has so much growth much more quickly, and he's not also trading order flow. At least I've never seen him trade order flow. But you know what? I don't know. I don't really know why. It's probably more interesting, I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Matt trades price action. And you all know my feelings of price. Oh man, look at this. There's a big order left behind there. Whoa, this is going. Oh wow. Oh wow. Like I said, yeah, if this breaches the highs, this could go. That was man. Well, he has a book open, that's true. But he doesn't have like a current trades or anything like that. I think he's mostly just using it for his order entry. I think his trades are based primarily on price action setups. He uses it to see block orders. Okay, so what was the breach again? 150. Or sorry, 15. Okay, S&P 500 got a little ahead of itself there. Okay, so while the 30-year did breach like its range, it's not the high since this regular session and that initial peak. So they've still got to get above 119.03. It looks like they bounced really hard off of that 119.03 in the 30-year for whatever reason. So that was pretty tough to hold through all of that, but it was pretty spectacular when it happened. Although I don't like the pullback here. I hope that's not all there is. I feel like there could be so much more. This could so trend. I would not be surprised if you're trading a bigger account off screen. Nah. You know what? When I do have extra money, I put it into like tax advantaged accounts and stuff. So but look, like I think there's kind of like two bigger things that are kind of going on under the surface that I'm kind of trying to say to people, right? So I have a day job. I make 6 figures programming. I probably could go and switch jobs at this point and probably get paid a little bit more, but I like my boss and we're having fun right now, so no reason to do that. So like, it's not about the money, right? So the first takeaway from that is that Like, that's kind of the target audience for futures trading, is you have this extra money to put on taking risks. Okay, that's a key thing here, because I think a lot of people, they want to start when you're really young and you don't got anything, and you think that it's a way that you're gonna make it. Nah, it's like you want to have already kind of made it, and then this is just kind of like a cherry on top sort of a thing, right? But then the other split side of it is that, to really trade well, I think that you kind of have to feel secure financially. When you're like really concerned about like feeding yourself, and that's really hard to be an effective trader in that kind of a situation. Seth, remember that one time I told you I had a limit order sitting on ZB like 7-6 down, and I suddenly an order sweeped the order book I got filled and the price didn't change? Why didn't price go lower in that scenario? I don't know. So the whole thing is, again, we got to remember there are some empirical properties of the order book which largely have to do with the non-linear impact of large meta orders, right? And there can be like these short-term little things that happen. So a move like that is really, really weird. A large order ate the order book price, but then it like immediately came back. So if you have an impulsive move like that, because again, it takes time for those limit orders to stack back up behind it. So when you have a move that's too quick, it's like really likely to retrace. But for it to have never come out back after that is kind of weird, right? It suggests to me that like there was some big guy that really wanted to take some orders. Maybe he was puking, who knows? But that ultimately, or maybe he was taking profits. I don't know. But ultimately, the order flows were the other direction in that situation, I guess. Sometimes it's really hard to know. Can I ask something I need to learn as well, actually? You're so funny, man. Actually, I've learned, you know what? Like, it's everybody gets the, I hope that everybody that comes on the stream gets their time in the limelight at some point, but actually tends to get highlighted a lot. I feel like you've always come in at really key moments and given me pieces of information that were really useful and valuable, and I really appreciate it. 6 figures programming and still trading micros, Seth, so cheapskate. Right? Well, like, so here's the interesting thing is that because a lot of these decisions happened before I really got super serious into futures trading, but basically because I was futures trading, I knew what the trajectory of interest rates were. So if you go back and you look at like the earliest streams that I did not live in this house, right? But I was able to get into this house, and oh man, I'm super happy with how that all turned out. And how did I do all of that? Well, one was we put a lot of work into fixing up my wife's old house and selling that. We got a good price on that. Okay. That was probably the biggest factor. But then number 2 was I knew enough about the market to time it right. And okay, that's probably worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That, so you think about that. I could come in here and I could lose futures trading every day, lose a big amount every day for like a decade, and it still wouldn't lose out on the money that I've made on this house because of what I knew about markets. You get what I mean? That's kind of where I'm coming, right? Like, there is value in knowing what's going on in the markets and being able to predict the orders. And trading is really risky, and it's super hard, but it's also fun, and somebody has to do it. Just don't come in here thinking like, oh, I'm going to become a millionaire from doing this. Probably not. Probably not. And if you're doing it just to become a millionaire, I think you might find it really hard to keep the motivation up, right? But if you just really, truly enjoy the market, you're just never going to be able to stop yourself. You're going to lose over and over and over again, and you're just going to be like, oh yeah, but but the UK, but the Japanese yen, but there's a Fed meeting next week. Like, there's just always something to keep going, right? So I tell you what, even with all that, I've frequently thought of stopping. I mean, I don't think I ever thought about it too seriously. I do kind of wonder if I didn't have you guys, though. Why the hell is ES ripping like this? So I think that the market is reading this Nick Timiro story that the Fed is basically wants to work out in the next meeting how they begin to exit the markets as a read that the Federal Reserve is about to make a pivot, essentially. So that's why you're getting such insane flows here. And then you combine that with like options expiration. Yeah. If you're happy, then we're happy. Oh, thanks. I mean, I'm joking, really. You have to earn the lots, but you don't need to be afraid trading macros. I feel like you get so scary when it won't hit your economies. Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, Kyle, is that I feel like in the past I've made some irresponsible risks. There have been a few times where I've taken some irresponsible risks, and I've blown accounts on this stream, right? I have done it. But you know, this latest account has been going really well, and I feel like I've made big progress on overcoming some of those issues. And one of the big ones now is like knowing when it's really going and pushing it. So that's what we're trying to do here. That's why I really want to see it keep going. Oh, so I met the responsible Seth. Good to know. Right, yeah. Like the last one, I think I started out with, well, remember that I lost 500 on trading oil? That one was dumb, right? That one was dumb. And then the other 500 in that account, you know, just got eaten away between a couple of big losses and, you know, $50 every month for a year and all that sort of stuff, right? So then I got fed up with Ninja Trader. I still had a decent amount in that. Like, I still had enough to trade into that for like several months. But I wanted to switch at that point. So I took a couple of more YOLO trades to kind of run the thing down. And then when I came over here, I was like, okay, now we gotta actually be smart. No more of this, right? Because up until that point, I felt like I was still calibrating, right? Even some of this earlier action, like beginning of the year, because at the beginning of the year, I missed a lot of opportunities, right? So it's kind of been like once I really felt confident in my framework, I guess, because it was like there was things that I knew, and then it was like now I understand them mathematically and empirically, and now I truly trust it. And that's basically about where I got to in 2021, right? And then it's been like a year and a half to kind of calibrate until it's gotten to the point where like I kind of understand when it's okay for me to try and take a big risk or not, right? So this is like we were saying earlier. It was kind of funny. Remember early on in this stream, for those of you guys that have been here the whole day, somebody was saying, you know, when we started this out, it was a little volatile, and they're like, oh, this market is too volatile to trade. And I was like, yeah, but like, just stick around, because every once in a while they'll give you a flow that is just really, really clear, and you can just write it, or you wait for it to all chill out, and then you can get really good ones. But anyways, that's what's happening today. That's what's happening today. We're just getting a really clear long signal, essentially. The worst thing to ever happen to me is to make 1K my first trading day, slinging lots like a trooper. Yeah, that was, oh, it's so true, Andre. Like, it's the best thing that can happen to you, and it's the worst thing that can happen to you, to have success right away. Because I tell you what, I would not have learned the things that I have learned about markets if I had had success at the very beginning. Like, I think that when I started out at a place that was probably above where most traders were, but it still was like, I still didn't really know the real stuff, you know? Like I said, well, news matters, but I was still focused on the technical stuff, right? And it's not like it's wrong to look for technical signals, and you can find them. They're hard, but you can find them, and you can trade on that. It's just that it's easier to trade the informational inefficiencies, and there's more money in the informational inefficiencies, quite frankly. And it still requires a lot of work to be up on and play the informational inefficiency game. And all that time that I was spending back testing and messing around with that stuff was time that I could have been spending, you know, reading research reports and stuff, right? So that's kind of where I got to. And I wouldn't have gotten to this point and read all of these things if not for you guys, because one of those books was a referral from you guys, and B, because I was still struggling big time, right? And of course, that's another thing that I always kind of remember, and also a part of why you might see me kind of behave the way that I do, is after I get a big winner, I become suspicious, right? I'm immediately like, oh, okay, gotta be careful. Like, don't let it get to your head, etc., etc., etc. When you say you believe, no, I've never had a margin call like that in CDZ. When I say I blew an account, I just mean that like there was less than $100 left in the account, so there was enough to pay for the data fee for another month, right? So it was like, well, I don't know if I want to refund the account until I feel like I've overcome more issues, that sort of a thing. But I still got to be able to trade, so I got to stop now so that I can still keep trading for a couple of months on sim, right? So then I would stop. So that's what I mean by a blow account. I've never had a situation. I have been taken out of trades by the broker, but I've never been in a situation where I was like, the account was liquidated and I owed money and there was an extra fee and all that sort of stuff. I use margin call for stop losses. That's my favorite response when people come in and say don't trade with a stop, right? It's like, well, you might not have a stop put out there, but I guarantee you your broker does. They will take you out. It puts their business at risk, right? Well, man, this move in treasuries is now to the point where I can't even. Well, okay, so we are above the overnight high. We're not to yesterday's prices yet. So yesterday's open was 109.28 half. We spent most of our time at 110. So I'm gonna just call out 110. I don't know if we can actually trade that today. That looks so far away, but that's kind of like the next major point I see. We are kind of coming into some of yesterday's lows, so we might see some interesting action around here too. Well, as for Seth here, I think I need to stay in this until I either see a really, really clear liquidity hole, shift in volume. I don't know. Well, I am seeing kind of a clear liquidity hole right here. Like, it is kind of suggesting to me. So I think I might take one contract off right here. Well, I never like it when it seems like it's reacting to me. I put an order out and it kind of like, you know, shies away from it. I'm always like immediately suspicious. If UB or ZB end the quarterly roll around here, it will be the biggest quarterly drop in their prices everywhere. Ever. If you're concerned about losing platform fees, this is the wrong game for you. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. What I was saying is there have been points where there was enough money in the account to only pay for the platform fees. And so I didn't want to keep trading it because otherwise I wouldn't be able to even trade it sim. So that's what I meant by a blown account. But I've never done one of these things, like these crazy things that happen to people with options, right? Where they're like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have taken that trade off because it's still extending here, right? There was some significant volume in there, but this is just keeps going. So we are now about 25,000 contracts long. And this is a move that I think could be 50-60. So we're maybe not even halfway done. Although it could stop around here. You never know. You never know what's really gonna happen. Got some traders calling that a blue line algo. When you enter a trade in, it just dances around your entry very lightly. Yeah. You have rhythmic, right? So I'm on edge clear. But like the platform, the data fees, it ends up being like almost $50, right? I think it's a little bit less than that. I think it's actually more like 30, but I just, when I'm calculating it in my head and everything, I just assume it's 50. And yeah, I'm with edge clear right now. I don't know. I think the reality here is, guys, is that I am way more risk adverse than I ever realized. So just think about this number. It says 116, could be 140 at this point. Would have been almost 150. Ooh. I could scalp some more, but I think that I'm okay with just kind of letting this run now. They wanted your tax papers to verify your income, so they never finished the application. Oh, really? Oh, because you're from out of the country. Yeah. That sucks. Having dependents does that even if you weren't earlier? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more than that. So for starters, you know, one of the things that really makes a guy be like a risk taker is testosterone, high testosterone. So I do think that I'm probably pretty okay on the testosterone spectrum, largely because I work out, right? But if I wasn't working out, you know, I'm a pretty small guy. Okay, so I'm not gonna be like the huge ultra testosterone guy. I'm probably gonna be on the lower end of average, right? I don't actually know what that is. I'm just kind of speculating there. But then the other thing is that I'm ADHD. I don't think that I have serious anxiety issues per se, but I do think that having ADHD can kind of traumatize you a little bit and kind of make you focus on the worry side about things a little bit more. You notice that I've always kind of been like that, like reluctant to really come out and like make a strong call about something. Like come on, look at the way that this played out, right? This was a really insane move And we sat in it for 45 minutes with it going almost 20, 30 ticks against us at one point, right? Yeah, 32 ticks against us. We've made 68 ticks, right? That was nerve-wracking. And the whole time I'm sitting here like, if it goes up, then that would be amazing, but I don't really know if it's going to happen, yada yada. Now, in retrospect, it's kind of silly for me to have hedged that much, right? Because I was totally right. This was a situation where eventually they're going to bust those highs, and when it does, it's going to run. It's going to run. Right? That's just kind of always been me, I guess. You have to be more aggressive in sim to develop skills. You will discover things you won't read about. Oh. I see what you guys really want me to do here. Is you want me to get to a position where, like, every tick I'm making $500, or sorry, every tick I'm making $50, and the margin for a new contract is $50. So every tick that I get, I can add another contract on. That's what you're hinting at, isn't it? Yeah, I know about that shit, because I watched the traders at Goldman do that crap. Just like, the more they made, more they put on. Yep. Sometimes they can do that sort of thing. But I also think that you're kind of better off if you're the person that kind of tends to be more risk adverse, to be honest with you. If it's better to be the person that is risk adverse and learns to be aggressive than it is the person that tends to be aggressive and has to learn to be risk adverse. It's a much easier transition to make. You can make 20,000 in one day trading one lots? What? Well, okay. I want you to trade size where every trade gets you a call for breach accountability level at least. Well, like here's the thing. I could so like, okay. Here's how I approach this. This is probably the wrong way to do it, but here's how I've been approaching this, okay? Is I start an account, okay, if I make enough from the account above the initial funded level to pay for like 2 months of data fees and an extra contract, and then I'll start adding contracts on, right? Or sometimes I will just, I think this is a strong move, I'll add 2 contracts. Or sometimes I think today might have been to a small extent a little bit of revenge trading, because I lost $40 on that initial test order, and yeah, so that also made me really nervous holding this whole time, right? Because I was like, oh, I don't want to take a $40 loss and then another $40 loss. But hey, we came out here, we're up 120. Good deal. Could have been 140 if I didn't take the other contract off, but I think I'd still be looking to take it off here. Like it is, they are running into the impact. In fact, I don't think that I'm going to sit here with this all day. I am going to take it off at the end of the stream, and we're going to record that video that I'm kind of don't for some reason think that I want to, but we're going to do it because you guys talked me into it. Actually, how did that? We still have that poll, don't we? Oh yeah, you guys, 38 votes. You say do the CPI deep dive. Okay. It's settled then. I'll leave the poll up there, but it's settled. The breach of accountability level is 10K contracts? Really? Wait, so how do they do these ones where your trade like 50Ks? Is that just that you can't have more than 10K at a time or something? I don't know. I don't think I'm risk adverse. I want to be the demons but the demons, they haunt me. They say get rich or die trying. So when I was younger, you know what kind of started this actually there was this time, I don't know when I exactly, I came to this conclusion, and a lot of these kinds of conclusions, I don't um I don't feel like come from me. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And there there was just this sort of thing that said, Seth, you are intended to have to make a lot of money. That's what you're supposed to do. And be entrepreneurial, essentially. So I thought that I was going to make like a tech company or something like that growing up, right? So I always spent a lot of time reading about Y Combinator and all these. This was like back in 2008, right? No, I'm just using EdgeClear rhythmic data. Well, this is a good pullback. I think that I'm done. See, there was more in that, but look how much it's given up. You're trading like 3 or 4 basis points on a pullback. I thought EdgeClear was an introducing broker. Oh, right. No. So who is my FCM is what you're really asking. No, my FCM was it Phillips, I think? It's not Iron Beam. Because if you're on Iron Beam, you have to use their systems. So okay. All right, I'll take 95. That's fine. That actually. So when I saw that start coming through, I was like, well, you're gonna have a pullback and everything, but that was more than just a pullback. And we did reach like the limit of our impact. You could see it coming up there. Like they traded a couple of big orders up here and everything. So I was kind of like feeling like, but I just thought that it was going to slump back down just a teeny little bit and then push higher. So they came all the way down back like that. That's like maybe somebody is just really big is taking. I don't know. So anyways, the gist of it was that I was saying to myself, if I get my account over 1700, then I'll regularly trade 2 lots or something like that. This is what I've been telling myself. But maybe that's not the right way to do it. Probably I should be doing a few more like what I did today, although I don't think that I did it the best. Could have gotten a better entry, etc. But trade where it's really working, you clearly have got something and you can add a contract, right? That's kind of the situation I think about. Is I have a really clear predictor of order flow. It's already starting to work, and I can add another contract without and still have a really good chance of it not reaching my risk. So I'm using the money that I've made. Yeah, I don't remember if it's Phillips or the other one. Anyways, I was telling a story, wasn't I? I was saying, oh yeah, I wanted to do entrepreneurial stuff. I thought that I was going to like make websites. I was really into making websites. When websites like Facebook and all that came along, like I was kind of messing around with making sites like that. And then somewhere along the line, I don't know, I lost interest. I forgot about it. Something happened and I never did that. So like, why did I never go and try and work for a startup? Why did I never go and work for a startup? No, I went and I worked for a bank. And then after the bank, almost immediately got, a good opportunity to go something that was just really convenient. And I've done that. And then I got remarried and now I have kids. Right. So it's like, I thought that I was the risk taker, but it's very clear from going through my life and everything that I am not. And it doesn't help that there are some, so for instance, well, there was one thing was like after my first wife left and before the divorce was like finalized, because it's like one of those things, like you put the papers in and then it's not finalized for like 3 months, which I really hate laws that do that. Like if any of you become legislators, don't put that in there. Okay. Because what it really does is it cuts off the most vulnerable people from support, essentially, because like the best support ends up being other single people. So I'm kind of in that limbo world where I don't really have any support and I'm just off by myself every night. And I came across a girl that I thought ticked all my boxes. Like she was interested in some of the same things. She was into math. She was doing weightlifting. She was kind of like a scrawny person like me. You want to put it that way? We're ectomorphs. And I just really enjoyed talking to that person. It was probably just like I hadn't really talked to anybody in a while, but I like talking to her. And but I said, well, but this isn't really the time to be doing something like that. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just gonna forget about it. Maybe they'll be around in a while, which is probably what I should have done. I should have just been like, I'll lay back, see what happens. We'll come up, speak to them later. We'll run into them later, right? And no, I met her at a weightlifting meet. And but then I was having like one of those modes where I was like, oh no, like you should do something. You want to talk to this person? You should go and talk. You should start talking to them. You should make the move and all that sort of a thing, right? So I went and found her on Facebook, and at that time I was always adding people on Facebook. I never add people on Facebook anymore. You want to have me on Facebook? You're gonna have to add me because I don't send people friend requests anymore on Facebook. But at the time, I would send a friend request to anybody that I thought there was any remote possibility that they would accept it. So I sent a friend request to everybody that I knew from the weightlifting meet, and she accepted it, and I started messaging her, right? And I messaged, we spoke back and forth for a while just on text. And, she eventually found out what my situation was and everything, but in the end, it did not go well. Let's just say, I don't think that she was really interested in me that way. And, the reality is I've learned more about her to realize that probably wouldn't have been a good match. She's probably too liberal for me, because I've my wife actually kind of knows her now too, because we do weightlifting, and she's always like some of these left-wing issues that like we're in a conservative state, and she's supporting like pretty far left things. I'm like, I don't think that would have worked out so well. So it was a good thing in the end, right? But I think that the thing is that it was kind of like I took a risk and it totally blew up in my face. Like it didn't end well. Like we don't talk anymore. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to talking to her again, except for that I'm married, so I don't talk to other girls anymore. But it's not like I hold animosity towards her for it or anything. Okay. It was just kind of like the situation, but it didn't end well, right? So that also and so it was like I got divorced. First opportunity that came along, I felt like I totally bungled it. And you know, I took a risk and I bungled it. So I think that also kind of made me a little bit more risk adverse. And then I have a wife that is very risk adverse too. Not well, I'm not even so sure it's risk adverse. She's very reserved, let's say. How do I get a girlfriend, Seth? Help. I got looks just shy. Well, help me on that front as well as ZA. Well, so here's what I changed after that situation. Okay. Maybe this was the wrong takeaway from it per se, from like a high level perspective, but from a tactical perspective, this does work. Okay. Or this does help you. And here's what you do. Okay. Take it offline. Take it offline. So if you're on Tinder, you match up with someone on Tinder, message them 5-10 messages, get their phone number, set up a meeting with them, and then don't talk to them. Right? This is not what women want to do. Women want to sit and talk to you for weeks and weeks on end so that they can properly vet you before you can properly meet them. And the reality is that women that do that, they tend to just not meet up with you and tend to not to actually be interested in. But people can really get into their own minds and be like, well, I'm not really actually interested in them. We're actually kind of like afraid to admit to ourselves that we like somebody, I think, a lot at the beginning, right? And so the answer is, don't give them time to think about that. You have the biggest advantage in the dating game when you are in person, right? When it's all on Tinder, women have all of the power, really, because they're the ones that are saying yes and no to people. And I honestly, I kind of think that the social media has maybe kind of messed with women a little bit more than men in terms of like misleading us on what's really going on. And so women end up being way pickier than they should be. Right? So as a guy, the trick is take it offline. Don't talk, like, don't come and share all these stories with and talk to them like, okay, like after the first date and you want to talk to them regularly, just send them cute pictures of cats and stuff, but don't have long conversations on text, right? Dates are like movies, right? You hate it when you watch a movie and everything was revealed in the trailer. Like all of the best moments in the trailer of the movie were already in the trailer, right? And then like there's no surprises or anything. That super sucks, right? Date's the same way, right? The less they know about you going into the date, the better, the more fun you can have. Okay, don't tear open everyone's emotional wounds. But that's what I did, is I said, you know what? I shouldn't have had such this extended conversation on text. Probably if I had spent more time with her in person, I would have very quickly realized that we weren't actually as compatible as I thought and would have moved on, right? But because I did that, I got myself like way more emotionally invested in it, and then like when it blew up, it was really painful, right? I don't even watch trailers anymore. They just give the movie's best scenes. Yeah. You're just spotting now. Wait, how are you saying this is relevant to? I don't know if this is relevant to trading or not. I wasn't talking about it in a trading. You guys, you just asked me. It's dumb. You know what? Like, here's the funny thing: is that I'm not so sure that I should be considered a dating expert per se, because it's not like, I mean, I dated really regularly for a year and I probably met about 100 girls during that time. I mean, I guess that's a lot for people, but I don't feel like I'm like a Matthew Hussey or anything like that. But I do feel like I could probably write a book that would be useful to people, because the issue in our modern world is that the human mind is not set up to deal with scarcity. It's all about the scarcity versus abundance. We're wired to deal with scarcity, and we don't know what to do when resources are abundant, right? And there is actually quite a bit of data science out there that if you take things from an abundance perspective, kind of suggest to you a certain way of dating that I found to be very effective, that I taught to a couple of my friends, and they also found to be effective, right? So if you're in an abundance mindset, there's this really interesting way of doing it. So like let's say that the situation is you want to pick, you have 1,000 items that you have to look at, and you have to pick the best item, right? But you can only look at the item once, and then once you look at the item, and then you can choose to select that item or pass on it. And if you pass on it, you never get to look at that item again, right? So how do you maximize getting the best item out of that in that situation? And they've actually done this mathematically. And the answer is that you want to look at a certain number of the items. I think it's like 25% of the items. And then after you've looked at 25% of the items, pick the next item that is as good as or better as than the best item that you've seen. And that will give you the best chance of selecting, of getting the best, item that you can, right? So, yeah, that's not why people want to think about things, right? You want to think like you're destined to be with somebody, and think about it like math. Think about it like math. Go out there, get on Tinder or whatever, okay? Take really good pictures, okay? Like good lighting, good hair. Get your hair done that day, whatever, right? Try and fill 3 days a week and date as many people as you can for a year. And then after a year, and don't ever reject anybody unless it's like really obvious that you're not in line with each other. But if it works, if it's like your goals and everything else are aligned, keep dating them and just kind of keep them around until you get to the point when you're ready, when it's been a year, basically. Okay. So then after it's been a year, the next person that you come along that's as good as or better than the best person that you found, and that's the one you want to go for. So what does that mean? You gotta have a system that's regularly going through people to try and get through as many people as you can get in a year, and then pick, right? Anyways, and there's all the steps along the way. Like, for instance, when you're doing your photos, if you're a guy, it's better to have a photo where you're looking away from the camera and you're like, you're involved in something, you're contemplating something, right? If it's a girl, it's better to look at the camera, make a flirty face. But like, there's all this stuff, right? Some of it, in fact, has actually been hidden. So there was a couple of things that like the Tinder blog would post, and then people were really upset that was posted by them. Like the statistics upset them. And so they took the blog posts down. Do you believe that? But I remember all the stats. So I always kind of thought, I should write a book. But I was like, yeah, I don't have that much time, and I'm, it's not my primary expertise. I tried that away from the camera thing. I was told I look like I need to sleep. Well, so like this is the thing, okay? Like, guys, we don't do this stuff, right? Okay, but think about these girls that like do TikTok, okay? Like, they put so much freaking makeup on and stuff, right? Tons of makeup. They use the filters, etc., etc., etc. Dude, do it. Take advantage of it. Like get somebody to help you take really nice pictures. Like, either somebody that has a really nice camera on their phone, or somebody that's got like a real camera like I've got, and you want to go all out, like get a haircut and have them style your hair, right? um use like powder on your face so that you have a good matte finish on your, so that your skin's not shiny and it looks even. Anything that you can do to give yourself a leg up on that, and do it and take good pictures. Because here's the thing, most men don't do that. Most men, they just have the only picture of themselves that they have was the picture that they took when they were at the lake and caught a fish. And so that's what they have to put on there, right? So if you actually go and take professional photos, it gives you such a huge freaking advantage, like you wouldn't believe. That being said, I didn't meet my wife on Tinder. I met her on Facebook, so you can't believe that. It's so funny because she still likes to read Facebook groups, because that's where we met, was in a Facebook group. So she'll tell me about the things in the Facebook groups, and I'm always just like, yeah, because you see, like, the problem is Facebook sucks now, and it's only not fun people that are still participating over there. Girls do not want to see fish in your Tinder photo. Probably not. You need a strategy in both trading and dating. Well, the takeaway from it is this, right? Is that a lot of human systems are incredibly complex. It's just so fascinating to me how you can take a couple of really simple rules, because the rules that a limit order book runs on are really simple, but it leads to this huge world of mathematical properties about how that limit order book tends to behave, that even though I can't, directly predict what it's going to do just from looking at the patterns and stuff, I can, with other certain information, predict exactly how it's going to play out if I know what the orders are going to be. Anyways, so it's the same thing in dating. There's the simple rules of dating leads to a very complicated world of social dynamics, and those social dynamics are often unintuitive. And so if you are the person that is willing to let go of your preconceived notions of what romance is and actually act based on what the data suggests to do, right? What does the data suggest you do in trading? The data in trading suggests that there's more money and you're going to have an easier time trading informational efficiency than you are trying to trade technical analysis. That's what the data says, okay? Why every retail trader wants to trade technical analysis, I'll never know, but I'm telling you, it's going to be easier. The market is not very informationally efficient, but it is very statistically efficient. So there's more edge available for you in knowing what's going on, right? Today, great example, right? Market took a little jump at first, and then it was just kind of stuck. But we knew that there was a really good chance that it was going to pop off, and it did. And we knew that because we knew the story that was driving them, right? So same thing with data, with dating. If you come in and you do what the data suggests, it can give you a big leg up. Just be good looking and win that helps too. Well, you're Indian. I gotta tell you, man, those sorts of things I find really frustrating. Like I'm not meaning to like denigrate or minimize people that might have other what do we say, like, things about immutable traits that work against them, right? Okay, like you're a minority somewhere, but there are a lot of those that people ignore that are some of the worst ones. Like if you're a man and you're short, man, life sucks. Life sucks if you're a man and you're under 5'9". It really does. It's like a huge disadvantage to you. Like it's even like it like even affects your lifetime earnings and all of these sorts of things. Granted, it's not as bad as like that your family were slaves for generations. Okay, it's not comparable, but it's a significant issue that society ignores, and it's the same thing with Asian men. Asian men, for whatever reason, are not viewed as favorably by women, and it really sucks because there's no reason that should be the case. People love Asian women, but not Asian men for some reason. And you're kind of in that same boat if you're Indian. You're a brown Asian, basically. And 5'9", living in a 99% white country where average female height is 5'9", and no, really? Is it the average female height 5'9" where you live? There's no way. Really? But your average height 5'9", so that's okay. The fifth rule of Tom trading and dating is wing. No. Please don't make that a part of your morning trading routine, okay? I don't know if that actually helps you. In the Netherlands, yes. Oh. Hey, so do you yeah. Oh, that's right. You were talking about that. Yeah. I'm telling you, there's this guy at Cargill. You'd love him. I gotta think about the market here a little bit. We did have much deeper pullback than I anticipated. I am happy that I had gotten out. I'm kind of looking at this like I could have gotten back in. So it was 4.24. Oh, right. Really? Oh, that's so interesting. 4.241 was basically where I got out. So we're basically right where I was. So it doesn't really make sense to try and take another trade. If it came back a little bit further, then maybe I could try it again. But I suspect that we may just kind of like rotate around where we're at. So that kind of suggests to me that I was too slow to get out. So I gave it $20, but that's okay because we made 50. No, we made 60 today. We made 60 today, so that's good. Yeah, they're all tall over there, especially the women. You can actually go to the most affluent part of your city and see the same height elevation. This is kind of a weird, like here in Utah, because I don't think that we have an unusually high, tall people, but if you're 5'9", people think you're short. It's like, I've always thought it's the dumbest thing. See, it shouldn't be a disadvantage to me that I'm 5'9", but I always kind of thought that was because when I was in high school, I was short, and then I grew a lot my senior year. But I'm also very light build, and I'm probably lighter, like even just normally I would have a light build, and then I was on Adderall for most of my life, so I'm having even lighter build, and that's a disadvantage too. I miss this chat. You never know what you're gonna get every day. Oh, come on. You've only been gone for like 3 days. What are you talking about, man? It's kind of funny, like when you guys are like, teach us about dating, and then like the viewership like fell off a cliff, because before that we were 30 and like half of the audience disappeared. They're like, well, I don't want to hear about Seth's opinions of dating. Like, oh, hey, look at that. They're going. Are they gonna bust this high again? I'm gonna feel awfully stupid if they bust this high again so soon. This is a situation where it could keep going. Like I honestly, I don't really see like a really significant point that would really cause people to like want to sell it directly until like 110. Oh, you lost the internet. Has it really been that long, Octavius? I feel bad now. Move to Portugal. Should I? Yeah. So not that I have any chance of doing this, but like it seems to me like all of the cool market microstructure people live in France, and that I should learn French and go and live in France. But I suspect that I probably would not enjoy living in France. What do you think? Okay, I have the perfect question for you. I assume you're familiar with tech sales and sales engineering. There's people claiming to get you a 100K job after taking a course. Course curious that. Okay, so if you go to a coding camp, okay, like you go to a month-long coding camp and learn whatever, okay, and then you go and you study on Leet Code. So there's this website where they'll give you these challenges and then you code them, and you kind of get judged on like how good your solution is and stuff. Okay. So you go and you do those and you study those really hard for a couple of months too. Okay. And I think there's a book actually called like Mastering the Code Interview or something like that. Okay. So if you do all of that, and then you go and you target a big tech company like Google, who are actively trying to hire people that are not university graduates. Okay. Yeah, you absolutely can go and get a 100K plus job. You can get a 6-figure job. Like if you're living in California. I mean, so it's not actually that, you know, it'd be more of the equivalent of like 70K here in Utah. But you get what I'm saying? Yeah, you can. But not everybody is built out to be a programmer. That's kind of the problem, is that we need more programmers, but not everybody is actually really well suited to doing it. France is funny. Wintertime, live in the city. Summertime, GTFO. I hate it during summertimes. Really, get really hot. I'm just afraid that people in France won't like me. Like I know that that's a much more liberal country, and I suspect that I would not be as welcome in Paris. What makes someone well suited to be a programmer? Oh man, I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's just like you have a mathematical mind that wants to solve problems, wants to solve, you know, like if you were the person that like just absolutely hated everything about math and avoided taking math classes as much as possible, then it's probably not for you, right? But if, you know, you found you don't have to love math or anything, but you found it challenging, and you were able to, you know, when there was a really difficult problem, absorb yourself in the problem and finally figure it out, then maybe for you. Okay. Just go to Paris and tell them the US dollar is the greatest piece of paper. Wait, why would they care? They don't have their own currency anymore. Would they really not like, they would not like that, huh? No, okay. So if I went to Paris, I have been to Paris before, okay? But if I go to Paris again, I would just be like, oh my gosh, I think France is just the coolest country in the world. I love everything about France. I wish that I could speak better. I know that I don't speak very well. I'm very ashamed of how bad my French is. And I'm very ashamed of how bad my American manners are, because I know that you French people are much more civilized. And that's I mean, it's the truth too, but like that's what I would always be saying to people. And I don't know, we'll see if they would like that or not. I don't know. But I think that they would be like, yeah, but you conservative Americans, you're evil. What kind of, depends on what kind of programming. Not every web programmer can write good algorithm. Well, yeah, so the one of the reasons why you can get into coding, because like in the early days, coding was really hard, right? Now we've abstracted so much away of the hard parts that there are a lot of jobs out there that are really just like maintaining a couple of scripts and don't really require any kind of analysis of algorithms or any of that kind of stuff, right? And the intention is that they want those jobs to eventually be like your typical, to replace your old style white collar jobs. Include that the Paris metro smells like an unflushed disco toilet on a Sunday night. Okay. No, that's not what I would say. I would say, well, public transportation is never glamorous, but Paris has a really well done public transportation system. It's one of the greatest public transportation systems in the world. And, I'm just happy to be able to get to work on time. Yeah. I too have heard that Paris had a distinct... So I will admit, so when I was in junior high, they did like a trip to Europe, and it was like super cheap back then. It's like way more expensive, so not as many people can do it, and they've opened it to everybody. But back then it was an invite only thing, go on the trip to Europe. So we landed in France. We landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport, which is an interesting airport, by the way. It really is an interesting airport. I mean, it feels dated now because it was supposed to be like futuristic in the 70s, so it kind of feels dated. But it's still really interesting airport. Especially that one section where there's it's like the center of it, there's like escalators going every which way. That is just so cool. I want to go back to that place. Okay. So we started in France, and then we drove up through Germany and Holland, and then we through Denmark, and then skipped across the channel to Oslo. And that was the trip basically. And then we left, and then we went from Oslo, flew to Switzerland on a short stop, and then flew home. Okay. So of that trip, Paris was definitely the dirtiest city. But it was also far and away the largest city. So, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? It's an old city, but yeah, Paris was pretty filthy. Pretty filthy. I don't remember a smell though. I haven't seen Berlin. Is it Berlin filthy? That actually really surprises me, because aren't Germans like super meticulous about things like that? We were in Germany. The German countryside sure is beautiful. Isn't that what everybody says? Do you play poker? No. So you know what? It's about time for me to get going. Make that video. But I'll share this with you, because maybe you guys will have some resources to help me. I'm really concerned about how neuroplasticity and crystallized intelligence works. And now that I'm getting into the point where my neuroplasticity supposedly decreases and my crystallized intelligence increases, I'm aware of that sort of a thing. And so I often sit and think about things that are like big undertakings, at least for me, because I always go full bore into something, right? So I would love to learn about poker in the same way that I understand market microstructure and understand all of the math behind it and everything like that. I think that would be super fun and interesting. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, do I have enough room in my brain for that? What am I pushing out on the other side if I'm going to pick up poker, for instance, right? So my solution to this has been, because I do need things to keep me interested in life, have variety and keep that dopamine going. So I'm always learning about trivial things, and usually it's something that involves purchasing a bunch of gear. You get what I mean? something that involves purchasing a bunch of gear. So like I would love to do drone flying, quadricopters, that sort of a thing. But I kind of feel like that poker might be too much of an undertaking. The one undertaking that I still kind of want to do, but I just don't spend enough time on it, is I want to learn more languages. I want to learn Korean and I want to learn Chinese. Learning Chinese is hard because a lot of the words are very similar, right? There's a lot more, 1 and 2 syllable words in Chinese, right? So that makes it a little bit more difficult to memorize, I think. And then especially if I want to learn to read Chinese, like, holy crap, that is insane. You're learning tens of thousands of characters. How do you memorize all that at 37? Is it possible? I don't know. So those sorts of things. So I would like to get into poker, but I keep saying to myself that that's probably too big of an undertaking for the current time. My next right now I'm reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I do want to go and probably try and find a book about leadership and teamwork. I still haven't decided what I want that book to be. And then I've got the algorithms book. But I think somewhere before all of that, I'm also going to read this a little bit more. I started reading this. This is the Stegum book that Akshay recommended. I think that on this book, I'm just going to read through it and just power through it. And then there's somebody else that's got a book coming out that I've been following on LinkedIn, and he'll have a book that will have like exercises and spreadsheets for me to do and stuff. So then I'll go through it again and like really do the deep dive. That's what I'm thinking. Go with audiobooks. I also want to read and read fast. So when I read, I have a bookmark that's fairly thick that I put on the page, and I slowly pull it down, and that keeps me reading quickly. So yeah. Okay, well, what, I should take a look here really quick, because this week was, well, really the last 2 weeks have been weird. Wrong URL. So funny, I lost 40 and then made 95. But I knew it was one I could push. I was right. If I was wrong, I would probably be feeling really stupid. Let's just look at the month of October, shall we? Okay, this account and just October. Oh, wow. Okay. I thought that maybe I was down more than that, but it looks like I just it was like big winner, kind of lost a little bit of it, big winner, kind of lost a little bit of it, big winner. So we are up on October. I like there was a point a little bit further back that I had made a bigger loss, but maybe let's go back to September. I think there was a spot where I'd kind of had come back. Yeah, I was over here. It was late September. There was a couple of days where I had like a couple of minus 40, but that recovers all of it. Interesting. Okay. I think though, when I come in and I look at, where is it? Where is the, show stats. I think that the win rate here is too low. Yeah, win rate was only 30%. I'm probably is the case that I am really trying to look for big winners too much, because there was a lot of these trades. Like when you look at my MFE, yeah, I should be pulling $15 out of these almost at least. So, but then probably I would be above 50% win rate. There was a few, this run right here was like really discouraging. This right here was really discouraging because it was just like, those trades never went in my favor. Okay. But October's been good. Well, because of that one trade. We'll see what next week brings. But that's kind of another kind of interesting thing about it is that like, it really is like the one that really runs like what, 20% of the trades responsible for 80% of the profits. Okay, well, treasuries continue to look a little weak here. It kind of looks to me like we had the stop run that I wanted, but that there isn't enough on this to make this a trend day, and that probably it being Friday and everything, we're going to settle around here. So I quit trading oil and now trade bonds. So you influenced me? Wow. That's good. I hope you're having success with it. Now is a great time to trade bonds, isn't it? Okay. Time for me to get going. So I will see you guys on Monday. I will make that video now. And in the meantime, stay excellent, team. I always want to say stay profitable, friends. Anyways, stay excellent, team.